Welcome back, viewers. It's a marvelous Monday morning. I do hope you feel blessed to be in the land of the living this morning. Sitting with me in studio is someone we are all very familiar with, and it's a pleasure to have her here with me in studio. Good morning, Dr. Angus.
Good morning, Natalie. Good morning to the people of Tobago and wherever else you're listening from.
And for some reason, if you are new to Tobago updates, and you don't know who this person is, she is Dr. Denise Tsoiafatt Angus, former presiding officer of the Tobago House of Assembly and political leader of the Innovative Democratic Alliance. Did I get it right?
Yes.
So welcome again, Dr. Angus.
Thank you.
This morning, I want to start our discussion looking at you as a former presiding officer. We know that last week sitting, we had the minority leader walk out of the House, and of course, we had Adana and Senator Lawrence just discussing it before we came on set. And I want us to look a little more and for you to walk us through, because you would have the know-how in terms of how these procedures are. And the contention of the minority leader is that his motion was changed, and therefore he felt it was no longer his motion. So my first question to you, when members of the House submit motions, who does it go to and what's next?
Okay. So when members of the House submit a motion from any side, it goes to the clerk of the House, and the clerk of the House is then supposed to review it. And if there are grammatical changes or need clarity on one of the statements in there, that can be recommended, and it is submitted to the presiding officer. The presiding officer may agree with the clerk or not. Most times it's usually grammatical errors, you'll agree. And then, you let the mover of the motion know these are the grammatical errors that were changed, and you go forward with that.
Right. Does the presiding officer have the purview or the authority to change the spirit of one's motion?
Absolutely not. That would be considered abuse of your powers, which is what we would have seen in the House recently with this motion. Only the House has the authority to amend a motion. So the motion could have gone forward as long as there were no grammatical errors, as long as there was clarity in what was being put out in the motion.
Right.
And then the House would have the power to say, we want to amend this section to this, we vote on it, and the amendment would go through.
Right.
But the presiding officer does not have that authority so to do.
Right. I want us just to take a look at the video of what took place partially on that afternoon.
There are rules and regulations that guides the proceeding of this House. Should you have any queries, you are free to see me in chamber to discuss it. This cannot and will not be accepted. I expect you to apologize to the members of this House. Members, it should be noted that the minority leader has just grossly disrespected the chair and you, the honorable members of this House. I suspend this sitting for 5 minutes.
Okay, viewers, and we just saw where there was the walkout at the House. In terms of, let's go back now, I did not have access to the original motion and what was changed, but from what was shared in the public domain, the minority leader felt aggrieved. He felt that that was not his motion, and that is the reason he would have walked out. Now, is it customary for members of the House to remove themselves, during their own motion? I know there are times, even in the Senate, even in Parliament, there would be people who would do walkouts in protest. But let's look at the Tobago House of Assembly in terms of procedure and what has happened in the past. Is it customary for one to walk out when it's their own motion?
A walkout is a form of a protest, and you can protest at any point. I think it was evident that the minority was protesting what the the powers that the presiding officer took upon herself so to do. And therefore, the protest was, we walk out.
Right.
So a protest is a protest. And, you know, there's a deeper issue that we have here, which is what it was changed to.
Right.
And that is a dangerous amendment that was put in there by the presiding officer. Because had the House gone through with such a debate with that amendment, I don't know that any private sector investment, you know, company or any private sector interested in investing in Tobago would ever come back to Tobago.
Right.
Because essentially the amendment put the blame on the persons, the private sector entity, that they have now created negativity for the people of Tobago by their pulling out. And that, you know, how do you blame a private sector entity for whatever occurred with the people of Tobago because they pulled out? There's a reason why they would have changed their minds.
Right.
And I don't see a challenge in what was put there in the first place. It never said the negative comments came from the opposite side. It just stated that they pulled out because of the negative comments coming out of the community. Maybe they could have, she could have entertained with him and said,